asked you a question. The Birmingham parchment, it has been carbon dated.
Okay,
and
so
you said, wait,
you're now going to a different question. We're now going to a different question.
Why are we discussing this question?
No, I gave you an answer. I gave you an answer to that very question you asked.
You are a plain liar.
Right, okay.
Who is deliberately lying.
Notice again, he's lost his temper.
Okay.
He has to now make ad hominems against me.
I'm allergic to bullshit. I'm sorry.
Okay, all right, okay. So Adnan, you see, the thing with me is...
And then I have to take tablets. I don't have patience with people like this.
Anand, you have to insult me because you don't have a ground to stand on. That's why.
Correct the mundo.
Because you ask me questions. You ask me questions like, name me a single scholar who believes that the Quran comes from before Muhammad. And I gave you examples of surahs, and I can go through the surahs. Surah 20, Surah Taha, for example, which ironically is in the Birmingham manuscripts.
Now you're making a
everyone knows
that
this.
the text of the Quran, as we know it today, predates Muhammad. Yes?
The stories within them, yes.
Wait. Are you hearing my words?
You said
that's
the Quran.
That's why I'm getting
you
angry.
said, show me any
listening
scholar.
To my words? The text of the Quran. I'm not talking about the stories. I'm not talking about the stories. I'm talking about the text of the Quran.
Does the Quran have meaning?
Listen.
Okay, that's a no then, apparently.
My question. The text of the Quran, as we know it today, the text in the Arabic language, does it predate Muhammad?
There are surahs that mention stories within the text. Within the text.
Guys, I'm sorry.
Wow. There you go. There you are. That's simple. Adnan, thank you for that. I really love that. That was brilliant. Adnan, I'd love to shake your hands. Adnan, will you shake my hand? We'll shake my hands. Okay, guys, can I just keep doing this because listen. Let's tell you this. Guys, you need to know this. You need to know this. For example, in the Birmingham portfolio, it contains parts of Surah 20, Surah Taha. First of all, we don't know what Taha means. It's a mysterious thing. But anyway, that's one point. The point is that it contains elements within it, such as the story of the seven sleepers, right? Yes. That is a story that predates the Quran.
Exactly.
So the revelation given to Muhammad is not an original revelation, according to every scholar who studied this. Whether they're secular, whether they're Muslim, whether they're Christian. They are all... Anand, you know what? No matter what you say, I'll always wish the best.
Wait, listen, no.
The Birmingham fragment, which contains part of Surah Taha, opens a fascinating window into the narrative world that existed before Islam. The story of Moses in this surah mirrors the broader framework of Exodus 3-14, the divine call at the burning bush, the staff turning into a serpent, the shining hand, the confrontation with the sorcerers, and finally, the crossing of the sea and Pharaoh's destruction. The sequence of events follows the Mosaic account with striking fidelity. Yet within this familiar structure lie elements absent from the Torah but found in later rabbinic and Targumic traditions. One such example is Al-Samiri, a character unknown in Exodus but appearing only in the Qur'an, 20:85-97, as the one who fashioned the golden calf while Moses was on the mountain. In several Jewish Midrashim, there are legends about dust from the footsteps of an angel that could bring an image to life, a detail that closely parallels the Quranic version. This strongly suggests that the Quran drew upon pre-existing Jewish Christian Aramaic lore circulating in Arabia long before Muhammad. Linguistically, Surah Taha bears clear Semitic fingerprints. The term Tuah, meaning the sacred valley of Tuah, parallels the Hebrew Kodesh, both referring to a holy space of divine encounter. The expression Ana Rabbuka Fakhla Na'aleik, I am your Lord, remove your sandals, functions theologically in the same way as Ehye Asher Ehye in Exodus 3:14, an affirmation of divine authority within the prophetic calling. Even the word sahir, sorcerer, comes from the same Semitic root as the Hebrew hartumim, showing clear lexical cross-pollination between the traditions. Thus, the Quranic account of Moses is not an original or independent revelation, but a redacted retelling of an already well-established tradition. It retains the skeleton of the Torah narrative while incorporating midrashic embellishments, reframed through Islamic theology. This raises a profound apologetic question. If the Quran is truly a correction of earlier revelation, why does it reproduce human interpretations of the Torah rather than the Torah itself?
We're discussing the text of that particular parchment.
Which borrows elements from other stories that predate it, yes.
We're not discussing that point.
That
That's
was
not
exactly
the
what
point
you
of
said.
discussion.
You said,
That's not the
does
point
the
of
Quran
discussion.
predate
This is why I'm
from
calling you a
Muhammad?
liar.
Yes,
This
yes,
is
it
why I'm
does.
calling you a manipulator and a disingenuous
no.
bigot.
Does the story
That's why
of
I'm
Jesus
calling you
breathing
that.
life into clay birds come from another source that predates the Quran? Does it? Does it?
Because he's clearly
not.
Either he has a learning disability, which I don't
again,
think, which I don't think is the
ad
case.
hominems.
The other
Ad
option is
hominems.
he's disingenuous. He's
And then the other
deliberately
option is that
not
you've lost the
listening to my
debate.
questions and not giving me answers to my
I just
questions.
gave you.
I am not discussing the stories.
Right.
Because we never deny that Quran has stories that predate Prophet Muhammad. Absolutely.
Then it's not an original revelation from Muhammad.
Put that question aside. The Bible
Quran
has
is not an
stories
original
that
revelation.
predate the text, and I can give you examples.
It's not an issue
The
for us,
Bible
but it's an issue
refers
for you.
to the Bible refers to the flood of Noah,
It's
right?
not a problem.
Yes. So there you go.
not a
So there you go.
problem.
What games are you? I'm not talking
Muhammad never
about.
came
I'm not
with an
talking
original
about the
revelation.
stories.
Cool,
I'm
though.
talking about that particular text found in the Birmingham parchment.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about
has
that.
stories
Now it's
that
clear.
predate
Now
Muhammad.
it's clear. Okay. Again, he's going to repeat the stories. He's going to keep. Well, for 1 hour, I'm going to keep repeating the same question. He's going to get stories.
Yes.
We have established the
And
stories predate Muhammad.
Thank you.
No doubt.
Thank you.
And
That's it, guys. That's firm.
They are told by Allah in the Quran once again. Just like
Do you know-
like they were told,
you
just
know-
like Moses
Adnan.
was told about Noah, just like Jesus was told about Noah, just like David and Solomon in their respective times, revelations came to them. So stories predate the prophets. When they tell stories, they predate them.
Right.
So now I couldn't put it more simply. Okay, now
They came from Gnostic sources, right?
now,
So does the Quran affirm
the
Gnostic
text
sources?
of the Quran in its Arabic language, as we know it today,
Right.
or as it is written in the Birmingham parchment,
Uh-huh.
which scholar, again, of the Quran specifically, which scholar of the Quran specifically, can I choose my words more carefully and more particularly specifically? Okay, which scholar of the Quran with due credentials said that the text of the Quran, the Arabic text of the Quran, predates Muhammad?
The Quran.
Do you all understand my question?
Let me explain.
Does everyone understand my question?
Nice.
Is there any confusion?
Can I answer?
We're not talking about the stories.
Cancel.
We're talking about the text. Now over to you.
Right. So this is brilliant. He's already affirmed that the stories actually do predate
Again,
Muhammad.
stories.
Brilliant. So I'm actually fine. I'm fine with I am fine with saying that the Quran in its entirety is a unique
If
text.
the
I have no problem
Christians
with that.
think that they
problem
have
with it.
good representation at the park,
Because it's
I
already
beg the
admitted.
Christians from around the world,
And,
send your guys from
and,
America, from Canada, decent people. People who like
Decent
to
people.
talk to,
You
people who
said
can
I had
represent
learning
your faith
disabilities.
properly. We are here. We will
You said I had
talk
learning
day and night.
disabilities.
We will address you. We will address your questions. Those who are sincere Christians, come and talk to us. Come and talk to us, and we will answer your questions. And people like this are doing injustice to you. People like these bigots who come to the park
Did you hear what he just
week
said?
after week
He said I was a
will
bigot.
lie on Islam,
said I
and when
learned
they're
it.
confronted,
In
confronted.
Quran, where people were accusing Muhammad of copying the stories were right.
They were correct, yeah. That was true, yeah.
So, when
So
Muhammad
I guess
came
you
with
believe
the
that, yeah?
revelation of Quran,
Yeah.
the
You wanna
Quran
talk
is
to me?
saying,
Yeah.
the Quran,
Maybe you can do a better job.
Give
Give the mic to him. Come on.
No.
No. You want to talk to me? You want to talk to me?
You just admitted that Quran has the story which were before the Quran. Yeah. So when
my
Muhammad
understanding
gave
is that
the
it's a claim from
revelations
the
to the people,
Sorry,
the
can I-
people,
my friend,
the people
yeah,
accused
don't
of Muhammad
confront
of doing
Do
what?
you wanna talk to me?
Copying the stories of previous.
Brother,
And that's you
brother,
just
do you want
confirmed.
to
Annan has
Do you want
confirmed
to
that
respond to
yes,
me?
the
Do you want
stories
to
themselves predate the Quran. And they come from Gnostic
Respond
sources.
to that. Respond to that.
He doesn't want to talk. So
Respond to that. Respond to that. I'm listening.
Okay,
guys, I'm sorry. I wish we could have a conversation,
In
but
your
it's not possible with these guys.
In your Quran, Muhammad
And then I
was
think it's
accused
done.
of
I'm
being
really happy
copying
with
the
that.
stories
Thank you very
of
much for this
previous
chat.
scriptures.
I wish you all the
They were
best. I
right.
hope you and your family are well.
They were right.
And I hope you
Now-
continue
And
to
just
now-
now
you've
Adnan
disappointed
confirmed
people again.
that we have the stories
Have a nice
before
day.
the Quran.
Have a nice day.
So the people have the stories. Hallelujah, praise the Lord. Mr. Trigo, that's right. You want to discuss Jesus Akbar?
Yes. Hallelujah.
Jesus Akbar. Jesus Akbar. You want Jesus Akbar? Jesus Akbar.
The Birmingham parchment is often presented in debates as proof that the Quran has been perfectly preserved since the time of Muhammad. Yet when examined scientifically and historically, this fragment tells quite the opposite story. The manuscript, catalogued as Mingana 1572a, indeed dates to a very early period, between 568 and 645 CE, overlapping with the lifetime of Muhammad and the generation of his companions. But the age of the parchment does not automatically prove that its text is identical to the modern Qur'an. Radiocarbon dating only reveals the age of the writing material, not when the text was actually written, copied, or standardized. The fragment itself contains only small portions of Surah Al-Kahf, Maryam, and Taha, just a few pages at most. In the field of textual criticism, such limited material is far too small to serve as evidence that the Qur'an has remained identical, letter for letter, over 14 centuries. More importantly, the script used is Hijazi, one of the earliest and most primitive forms of Arabic writing, slanted, irregular, and lacking both diacritical dots and vowel markings. In this early form of Arabic writing, many letters looked exactly the same. The letters B, T, and Th were written identically, and so were J, H, and Ake. Without any dots or vowel marks, even a single line of text could be read in several different ways, each one producing a completely different word. For example, the word written as mulk could be read Malik, Malik, or even Malaka, depending on how the reader chose to vocalize it. In other words, the Quranic text at this stage was still an open framework, a skeleton that allowed for variations in reading and interpretation. This phenomenon reveals that the Qur'an in its earliest form did not yet exist as a fixed written text. Manuscripts like the Birmingham parchment do not represent a finalized recitation, but rather a snapshot of an oral tradition that was still in the process of being codified. This aligns with Islamic historical sources themselves, which record that Caliph Uthman ibn Affan eventually ordered the compilation of a standardized Qur'an and commanded the destruction of all other versions to prevent disputes among Muslims. Such a policy would have been unnecessary if every copy of the Qur'an had already been identical. In fact, the very need for standardization is evidence that variation existed. From a scholarly standpoint, the Birmingham parchment only demonstrates that parts of the Qur'an circulated in written form by the 7th century, but not yet in a unified form. Leading experts on early Quranic manuscripts, such as François Desroches, Alba Fideli, and Gerd Puin, have long noted that early Hijazi codices exhibit differences in spelling, word order, and even vocabulary. These differences may seem small, but they're significant enough to reveal something deeper, that the Quranic text went through a long process of change and development before it reached the fixed version we know today.